Hi all, I have yet another amazing game to show you from the TCEC Season 17 Super Final. This is in round 83, the mighty Stockfish playing white, Leela playing black. So e4 from Stockfish. The opening book is a very sharp variation of the Sicilian defence with the early Queen b6. I always thought this was quite interesting. I think players like Vasily Ivanchuk have played this early queen out, trying to drive this knight back, and then a6, so it's a kind of, maybe you could argue it's a potential upgrade on some of the key Najdorf variations, potentially. Bishop f4, we have knight f6. Mind you, you could also argue that the b pawn is inhibited by the queen sitting on b6, and usually, quite often, a plan is to put pressure on e4. So is the queen going to have to move back at some point anyway? We have queen d2, bishop e7. White castles queenside, and black commits the castle in kingside. This is the end of the book given to both, no option, but an opposite side castling scenario by force. f3, we have rook d8, g4. The queen does move back, so it does mean now the b pawn's free to go to b5. g5, knight e8. There's already a ready-made pawn storm here. If the knight goes to h5, as you might expect, it becomes a tactical target. As an example, bishop e3, then f4, you can see that bishop e2. Where is that knight going to be going? If g6, white can even just wait for the knight to go back. And white's getting a big attack going in these variations. Or an advantage like this. This is just one way. So this f5 break, there's a lot of time to be gained basically from the knight going to h5 to g7. So anyway, we have knight e8, h4, b5, bishop e3. So Lauren Da Costa has written a book about opposite side castling games, and he thinks they're the most exciting types of games quite often, this race between both sides to smash through to each other's king. And I've had a similar kind of formation against Murugan in the 1990s, who was 24-20 at the time, and I liked playing for g6, and we had a similar game with Stockfish playing white, and actually Stockfish installed a fawn pawn instead. But here in this game we do see g6, which is more what I would like to do, to forcibly rip open some lines here, a temporary pawn sacrifice. If h5, then maybe the b4 here and d5. This is potentially quite interesting for black. Black might not be too devastated immediately. So g6, I think, is really energetic. H takes, h5, b4 now. The knight goes to e2. It's still got some attacking prospects potentially, going to g3 and f4. We have knight e5, knight ed4. We have now, well, there was an option here as well, hg. I don't think that's as good because it invites knight c4. That's neglected, and black could play like this, for example, and potentially maybe even get an even position. So knight ed4, a5. We have hg. Knight takes g6. Queen h2. Bishop f6. If a4 here, then there's a very concrete punishment. Can you see off the check, what would you play in this position? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, white play and win. Okay, basic tactic, queen h8 check, and rook h8 is mate. There's no escape square for the king. So an escape pod is provided with bishop f6, that e7 square. And okay, so that e7 square, the king can go to f8 to e7 sometimes. We have bishop d3, a4. And now the point of bishop d3 is to actually unleash the bishop immediately with e5, not minding the b3 knight go. A takes, very sharp position indeed. If knight takes e5, then that runs into queen h8, checkmate. If bishop takes, then check, and bishop takes g6. And here, off the check, believe it or not, in this variation, I found this staggering, this finding here, that you think there's a wham bam, wham bang, sharp sounding, loud banging move here. But guess, I'll give you 500 points in this variation. What does white play here, you think, which is absolutely devastating in the midst of this pawn and this this attack here. What does white play in this position, you think? Can you guess? Another 5 seconds. This might be on live stream as well, virtual, Premiere, YouTube Premiere. So say the move you think. It's actually a quite common square attack move. The common square being f7, just queen g8 threatening queen f7 mate. Maybe it's not that quiet. It does threaten the mate in 1, but it's devastating. After fg, the key idea behind it here is intriguing, to kill off another escape square of the king first before doing anything. You can do that with a very, very clever tactical move. Okay, knight c6 check. There's fascinating variations here. So now after check, this bishop takes, this is mating. This is all mating. So yeah, this really fascinating tactics I felt. If we go back into this, if here, instead of bishop f6, king d7, that's mate. You can see the king stopped from using c6. And if knight f6, just taking here, yeah, we've seen that. So yeah, it's all pretty devastating stuff here after this knight c6. So yeah, e5. So interesting move there instead of taking. So it doesn't matter how black takes on e5. It's pretty devastating stuff. Really, really sharp. So okay, a takes is played, and we have now e takes f6, and can you see what the threat is? Knight takes f6 was played. Just another little tactical test. If taking, check, what would you play here? Okay, I hope you can get it quite quickly. You can see the king's escape square has been taken away again, so looking out for the killer checks then is more profitable usually, and there is one. Checkmate. So after e takes, knight takes f6, knight takes b3, bishop b7 is played. If rook takes a2, then it's a bit too slow. The rook is actually fully evicted. There's no easy way of supporting the rook here with the queen, either on a5 or a7. The rook's kind of evicted all the way back, it seems, ridiculously. And then here you can tell that white's getting a much faster attack, going very, very quick, with this kind of devastating stuff going on, smashing through with a nasty pin. So it's a very, very exciting tactical position. I mean, I love tactical positions. I love positional play. That's why I love both engines in their own right. But the way Stockfish plays, you know quite often the game's going to end quicker. It's finding very crisp, very precise moves all the time. Bishop b7, especially in these very, very tactical positions. So bishop b7 was played. And we have a really super precise killer blow here in this position. I wonder if you can get it for 200 points. White to play really, really strong tactical move. The sort of move you really need to master if you're going to be a master of opposite side castling games. Juicy move. What would you play here? White, with white. Okay. Bishop h6. It really pierces black's pawn chain. And actually, I've been looking at some puzzles with some students of mine recently, and one little pattern observation is if you take out a centre pawn of, say, a row of 3, you often get access to the diagonals. If you take out a centre pawn on a pawn chain of 3, you get the diagonals open up. And in fact, this, if you look at this tactic scientifically, by removing that pawn, I know there's not a pawn there, but the diagonals are sliced open by removing that pawn, especially the dark square diagonals. We have bishop takes f3. If g takes, then you can see that evidently the diagonal's smashed open. And here, in fact, the loose piece liability, the queen, which is not protected by anything, as they say, loose pieces tend to fall off. It does fall off here because bishop takes, check here, and the queen is going to take there and then take here, and that's winning. So very, very nasty tactics, slicing through the diagonals basically of black's king's situation there. We have bishop takes f3, bishop takes g7. So the same sort of thing, the same tactic which hits the queen quite often ripples through a lot of variations now. We have knight h5. So if king takes g7, we can see that ripple through effect. Check, bishop takes. And, you know, because this big threat of mates, you know, then we get that tactic again recurring, winning the queen. So knight h5, and now another super duper tactic, bishop f6. So clearly this knight's kind of virtually pinned to h8. We have the move queen a7. Yeah, just to put this on the board, you know, here you can see what would white play. Okay, just mating with queen h8. So so we have queen a7. Just for the record, if bishop takes, then just king takes. And again, if this recurring tactic of winning the queen exists, so queen a7. At least the queen's protected now on a7 finally. Bishop g5. Yeah, it's it's not the sort of move maybe you'd instinctively think about. It does cover e3 from this potential diagonal to get into the white king position. Sometimes that might be useful for black. And basically, I think what's really happened is black's pieces are like a pack of cards ready to fall down with the whiff of the bishop. If the bishop moves with queen h3, which is about to happen, spoiler alert, then the knight, if that moves, it's devastation on the h file. But we see after rook dc8, black dare not even take this rook because that's going to be the outcome. You know, the h file is going to be crashing through. This bishop's holding things together. If we look at an alternative, queen takes a2, then actually the rook can be taken on d8, and then this, and then what's happening here? You know, here, and there's just this. It's devastation. It's just horrible for black. So, okay, so we have rook dc8, rook f1, bishop g4, rook fg1, bishop f3, and now just queen h3, saying to the bishop, look, come on, I want access to this h file. It's protected. So if bishop takes h1 here, then look at this. This is just horrible for black, as you couldn't expect. Where this sort of move is going to be winning. Otherwise, it's mate time again. You know, if we play e5, you know, there's all sorts of things like bishop f5 and bishop g6, and if queen f7, there's mate time again with knight takes and rook takes. So not lots of nasties, as you might expect. So queen b7 was played here, but now knight d4 hitting that bishop again. b3, this is desperate. It's a very desperate scenario. If rook takes a2, you know, just taking here, it's too slow for black. Whatever's going on here is far too slow. There's nothing for black. So b3, we have a3. If knight takes f3, I think this is also going to be, it's going to be even. That's one variation. It might actually be even, but Stockfish is bypassing that stuff. So a3, and we have a violent move from Leela. Rook takes a3, but it's just not working, I believe. B takes c2, queen takes f3, check. Looks scary for a moment, maybe, but knight takes c2. We have check, king d1. The knight nicely covers a1 here. Queen b3, and now just smashing through the h file. Very violent game. We have rook takes c2, and now really a crushing tactic. The queen's also a liability here, as it was there. It's an unprotected piece. They tend to fall off, as they say. I think it was John Nunn that said that loose pieces tend to fall off, to that effect. So white to play here. Can you see this tactic? For 300 points, white to play in this position. Really fantastic stuff tactically. Okay, rook h8 check. Yeah, rook h8 check. So knight takes was played. If it's if king g7, then there's just bishop f6 mating. And yes, it doesn't matter what happens here really. So we have knight takes, and this just Now white wins the queen. So can you see how white's play here to win the queen? Bishop check. Yeah, uncovers the attack on the queen here. And that's it, really. It's over by the shouting, really. That's it. It's devastation. So we're talking a less than a 50 move game here. Move 46, queen h8, check, mate. Yeah, super violent game. Really up Stockfish's street. I think from both these engines you can really get, either positional long grind game, or you can get a really sharp, crisp victories as well sometimes. Also, of course, it depends on the opening and king safety and dynamic factors. But yeah, this was a sparkler from Stockfish. I thought quite stylish tactically. So I hope you enjoyed that one. And so Stockfish, very formidable engine, of course, still, even in this new neural network era we're at the start of. Okay, lessons to be learned tactically for the budding tactical geniuses. What would I say? I think loose piece liabilities, fracturing particular pawns to open up diagonals. It's quite a subtle bishop h6 tactic in there. Forcing moves, you have to be totally on top of all the forcing moves. Yeah, and prepared to break through with a lot of breakthrough sacrifices. That bishop d4 and e5 breaking, opening up lines. Basic tactical meat and potato stuff, basically, from this game. Okay, if you want to invite me for a game, kingscrusher.tv or bit.ly/chessworld. If you register there, I'll be able to invite you for a game soon after. You can check out also my Suave chat forum at kingscrusher.tv/discord. There's also these playlists, bit.ly/Leela chess or bit.ly/Stockfish chess, and there's other places as well. Okay. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks so much.